call this meeting to order. It is June 25th, 2019, 6 p.m., and we are in the Joe N. Idelette Junior Teacher Education Center, and this is our regular business meeting. At this time, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. Teskey, I give you the honor.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so adoptions of order of the day. Are there any items that board members wish to move from consent to action? Okay. Before we move to that, would you like to make a comment? Is this the time that we would want to pull that?
I would believe so.
Okay.
Yes. Mrs. Zork and members of the board, as we adopt the orders of the day, I would like to request that action letter Q, approval to increase the health insurance fund, be deferred to our specially called meeting for July 2nd at 10 o'clock. And so therefore, we will not take action on that item tonight.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I need a motion with the amendment.
Move approval of the adoption of the orders of the day as amended by Dr. Moxley.
I'll second.
Okay. A motion, Mrs. Justice, Dr. Schiff with a second. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Would you like,
Oh, you had the second? I'm sorry, I thought I did. All
I
right,
said it quieter than you,
Okay.
but it was closer.
I'm too far away. That's the problem.
well, we have plenty of items to
I'm-
get you on a motion,
I
trust
know,
me.
that's fine.
Okay.
No, I don't wish to speak
Do
to
you-
it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Oh, I'm
4-0,
sorry. Yes, Mrs. Rosario is here, but she is in a special meeting right now. So we are going to move on to our presentations.
Yes, I'd like to invite Kristen Maddox to come up. We have a video on school initiatives.
Good evening, everyone. We have one video for our presentations tonight, and I would like to ask Karen Mallitz, who's the director of our title programs, to come on up to the podium and introduce it for us. It's our Step into Kindergarten video, and the Step into Kindergarten program promotes readiness for school success and a positive transition into kindergarten. So she'll give you a few more details before the video plays.
Thank you very much. Good evening, school board, community members, and colleagues. Step into Kindergarten is our pre-K to kindergarten transition program. This summer, we're still going on for a couple more weeks, and this program is not possible without the collaborative community that we live in. I have to thank our community partners for making this possible, the Education Foundation of Indian River County, our Community Service Advisory Council, United Way of Indian River County, Johns Island Community Service League, Quail Valley Charities, and I really hope I did not miss anybody. And if I did, I apologize. And we have so many other community partners that help promote the program and ensure that, that it's just a true success. So we welcomed over 200 students that are going to be joining us in the fall for kindergarten. We've had a great summer, and we're looking forward to the next 2 weeks, and hope you enjoy the video. Thank you.
The Step into Kindergarten program promotes readiness for school success and a positive transition into kindergarten. Throughout the 6-week summer transition enrichment program, students made new friends and became familiar with kindergarten skills, routines, and expectations. Students developed relationships with other children and teachers, many of whom they will meet again in August at their home school. Some students even had the opportunity to ride the school bus for the very first time. Once inside the school, it was time for breakfast and a little socializing with friends. Each school day began with a morning meeting or circle time to build relationships and establish social-emotional connections in the classroom community. Teachers used evidence-based curriculum and intervention programs to prepare developmentally appropriate lessons. The sharing of high-quality children's literature provided an instructional foundation to learn letters, sounds, rhymes, songs, and how to handle books and have fun while retelling stories. In addition, small group instruction was provided each day to meet the individual needs of the students. Students learned to rotate through centers that featured multi-sensory activities, manipulatives, music, technology, as well as arts and crafts. Lunch was another great time for socialization with friends in the cafeteria or sometimes outside. Recess provided time for play and the development of gross motor and social-emotional skills. In the afternoon, students engaged in games and projects to develop number sense. They learned to identify numbers, count, and connect mathematical ideas by using pictures, objects, symbols, and words. Science, technology, engineering, art, and math, or STEAM, tasks are shaping the everyday experiences of our students and are helping to build critical thinking skills that lead to success. A hands-on approach to learning provided additional opportunities for exploration, interaction, communication, and creativity. Early digital readiness was embedded throughout the day and helped children refine skills in literacy, math, and fine motor development. The STEP into Kindergarten Impact Parent Academy continued this year to engage families as the most important partner in the education of our students. A family program focused on science and literacy helped to build the homeschool connection, as well as an understanding of the upcoming kindergarten science curriculum. Every Friday, students received copies of some of the books used during the program to keep, share with their families, and to add to their home libraries. At the end of the 6 weeks, families received a backpack of fun-filled activities, literature, and supplies to continue their children's summer learning at home. The Step into Kindergarten program prepared both students and families for kindergarten success in the school district of Indian River County. Thanks to the Education Foundation and all community partners for making the Step into Kindergarten program possible.
Ready for kindergarten!
That's all we have for presentations tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, so we are going to move on to our citizen input. At this time, I do have two individuals that wish to speak, and then I have one that is asking to speak to an action item. I'm going to call up Mr. Mike Young, and just be mindful that you do have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I introduce myself. My name is Mike Young, and I'm the Director of Operations for Little League Baseball in Vero Beach. And just wanted to come by and remind you guys that we're here, and we're happy to be here, and say thank you again for everything that you do for our school district and the kids. And welcome Dr. Moxley to Vero Beach. We're happy to have you, and we look forward to continuing to grow that relationship and be a partner with the school district. I wanted to give an update on our progress on Thompson Field. As you guys know, we took over the lease there, and in the short time that we've had it, we've been able to make some great improvements. We had a full inspection done and realized that we had an uphill journey, but that we could do it. And so far we have, clay was brought in for the infield last week. We had to bring it in. We got in touch with Dodgertown, and they helped us figure out where the clay came from for Dodgertown Field. We had the same people bring it in for us. We're getting the fence fixed. There were numerous holes in the fence, so we're having a fencing company come in to do that. We're having the press box tented because it was riddled with termites. And the grass, we have the outfield and infield grass being completely redone, and we have some parents that have stepped up and Little League volunteers that have stepped up to help make all of this possible. So when somebody asks the difference between Little League and a different organization, I would say it's the volunteers. Everything we do is volunteer-based, and outside of the companies we have to hire, a lot of this is done through volunteer work, and those people need to be thanked. So I just wanted to go on record and say thank you to all of them. I also wanted to take a second to thank the board that I work with, the Little League Board of Directors. These guys are out there, they're spending their own money to make sure this stuff gets done. They're putting their own time and sweat into it, and they don't get told thank you enough. And so I just wanted to take a second to say thank you to them as well. And thank you to Mr. Teskey. He has always helped us, get on the right path, and I don't think he gets told thank you enough either. So we just wanted to say thank you to him as well. We're always here, and we look forward to seeing you guys at Thompson Field this upcoming season to watch some of our games. And again, welcome to Vero Beach, Dr. Muxley.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that update. Okay, Mr. Heimler, what action item were you also wanting to speak to? A consent?
That's consent.
Are we talking about consent, not action? Yes, I'm going to allow you to. So you're going to speak citizen input.
Yeah, and then I'll wait for the minutes, if that's
Okay.
all right.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll speak to citizen input first. A couple things. Thank you, Dr. Moxley. I've noticed the agenda is a real agenda, and thank you for coming here and moving minutes onto the agenda, financial statements, and being professional, and hopefully moving our district back to where we need to be. As you know, we've lost a lot of teachers and a lot of administrators, and we just lost Heather Clark to St. Lucie County, which hurts me badly. And I've spoken to some of the board members, and we can't continue to lose our administrators, especially someone like Heather Clark, to St. Lucie, especially when she got her dream job. Something is wrong somewhere, and I hope you figure that out soon. I'm very concerned about the time limit that you guys have come up with. I watched your board discussion meeting that went on for 45 minutes about this citizen input, and you guys, some of you said 3 minutes is enough time to discuss everything. I disagree. 3 minutes is really way too short. It took you 45 minutes to get through your part of it, and you didn't even get through your part. Jackie Rosario, board person Jackie asked the attorney, I don't know how many times, and the attorney gave her, wouldn't even answer her correctly, kept saying, it's your interpretation of the board policy, and Jackie kept saying, oh, Ms. Rosario, because we're friends, kept saying, where does it say that you can only speak once? And the board attorney kept saying, it's your interpretation, it's your interpretation, it's what we did in the past, it's what we did in the past. What is the purpose of this attorney? I'm not sure. I came with the board policy last time, and you wouldn't even let me bring it up. It's not a very difficult board policy. It didn't match the input, the citizen input form, and this has been going on for years. So 3 minutes is not enough time. You guys have to listen to the public. There's 2 speakers. You guys seem to be very concerned about the length of your meetings. Yet this county commission goes on 4 times a month for hours. You can come up anytime you want to speak and speak for as long as you want, as long as you don't rant and rave. Then you talk about the staff being held late at night. So why don't you move your meetings to the mornings or the daytime so you don't cripple your staff through the nighttime, and we can come anytime you want. I mean, look who's here. There's nobody here. Get rid of your presentations. Don't drag the kids here at night. Charles Searcy said the same thing. It's a business meeting. Why drag the kids here for an hour or whatever it is and drag your meetings on? Okay, enough of that. Start with a referendum. Start putting a referendum for next year. Dr. Rendell used the money for the IT technology referendum for the wrong reason. He was investigated. They turned down the investigation. Every other county is passing referendums but us. They just passed a referendum in St. Lucie, and now they're going to pay their teachers more than us. Martin County, Palm Beach County. I hear the buzzer. You have the right to let me speak for a longer period of time, and I hope you do, because I have a lot to say.
We are going to stick to the 3 minutes, but I am going to let you at this time, since it is ahead of the consent. I'm going to allow you to go ahead and speak to that consent item if you'd like to do that now.
So you're going to not let me speak any longer on citizen input?
Um,
It's so ridiculous. I mean, what? There's nobody speaking. You want to cut the public off. What is the purpose? You guys think you're doing such a great job?
Mr.
mean, do you
Heimler,
really-
this
I
is
mean,
our
come
business
on.
meeting, and you're more than welcome to meet with us and talk to us, and
Okay,
I
all right,
have an
I'm gonna,
open-door
I'm gonna, I'm gonna
policy.
stop, because
Okay.
I'm gonna honor you, because then that's what I'm gonna do. Let me get my paperwork to go with it.
okay, thank you. It's open to what?
Thank you. I'll make sure I'll get one, yes.
Mr. Heimler, you are addressing the entire board on this matter, and I hope that you don't just isolate an individual board member, and,
No, I'm
but
not-
if you
I'm-
would
I'm not
address the
gonna-
entire board.
I have no reason to isolate
Okay.
anybody. Okay, so, let me see if I have the minutes. Okay, I have the minutes. So the minutes say, briefly, I highlighted, I hope everybody else has the minutes in your book of the 4/16 meeting. It says basically, the meeting was called and attended by the majority of the members. Now, we know that's not true, because Jackie Rosario and Ms. Barenberg and Ms. Schiff said they did not call that meeting. So that's not true. It also says a reasonable notice of the meeting was posted on April 12th, and it tells how. And it says they emailed a legal advertisement to the TSN newspaper. Now, according to the statutes, which I highlighted, it says, the only way, Section C, everybody go to Section C, due public notice shall consist of publication in a newspaper of a general circulation in a county at least 2 days prior to a meeting. And if you watch the video, Mrs. Zork said, we shouldn't even be here today because it just hit the newspapers today. So that's not true either. That's not legal. So everybody attended a meeting illegally. So these minutes aren't legal. So everybody that went to that meeting, and Mrs. DeAgressa had 2 times to stop that meeting. Once when Mrs. Rosario said, I didn't call the meeting, and once when Mrs. Zork said, we shouldn't even be here because it just hit the newspapers today. So whoever printed these minutes, or whoever directed the person to print these minutes, which I guess Nancy printed the minutes, made them up. So I don't know what's going on here. So these minutes cannot be approved. And if you do approve them, oh, and by the way, since this was a special called meeting, the notice to the board members had to be written notice 2 days in advance of the meeting. So whoever called it, I think whoever, I'm not going to mention the person who said they called it, had to notice all you guys 2 days in advance, written, not by a phone call Friday night by Nancy Esplin, but you all had to be noticed written 2 days before with what the meeting was about. And the minutes have to be signed by the majority of the people that called the meeting. So nobody signed these minutes, did you? I don't think so. So there's major violations here. So I don't know who's making these minutes up, but they're illegal. Nobody sent out written notice of this meeting 2 days before the meeting was called. Nobody signed these minutes that had to be signed by the majority of this board. Did they? No. So I don't know what's going on with this board, but something's really wrong here.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Heimler.
And I think the attorney needs to step up and who
Mr.
knows the
Heinlein.
statutes, and start advising you guys correctly before somebody's really in trouble. Thank you.
Okay. So we are moving on to consent agenda. I'm calling for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion.
Second.
Did we?
We did, yeah. Moving stuff off consent.
What's that?
Because you wanted to move something off consent.
What did you want to move?
The meeting minutes from April 16th, they're incorrect.
Well, she would have had to been here during, to move the minutes. We've adopted the orders of the day. She was not in here because she was in the meeting. Is there any,
If a board member who voted on the prevailing side of that motion would like to make another motion to somehow change the orders of the day, you may do so.
there wasn't anyone that opposed the orders of the day? Is that what you're saying?
It would be one of the four members who made a motion to approve the orders of the day
Okay.
as submitted
Okay.
would need to make to make a motion to reconsider that motion in order to change it.
Can I do that?
You weren't here.
You were not in
I will.
part of the
I'll
motion.
make a motion to reconsider that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, she has to withdraw her motion, isn't that correct? To accept the consent agenda, we'd have to withdraw her motion to accept the consent agenda.
I withdraw my motion to accept the consent agenda.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Justice?
No, I do not.
Okay. So what happens in that case?
At this point, the second would become,
The motion?
the motion is, and is there a second for Mrs. Justice's motion?
Mrs. Justice's motion?
At this time, because she was the second, so now she moves up into the slot of the motion. So is there a board member that would like to
We're seconding
make
which
the
motion?
second? Or,
Could you please restate the motion that we're trying to second?
The current motion on the table is with regard to approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Mrs. Rosario initially made the motion, and Mrs. Justice initially seconded it. Mrs. Rosario has now withdrawn her motion, but Mrs. Justice wishes the motion to remain on. So at this point, the chairman is looking for a second for the motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second it.
okay. All right, so at this time, if we are ready to move past the consent agenda and not go to allow,
No, she withdrew. No,
is that true?
she withdrew
If we-
the original motion, so
No.
Mrs.
So if let me make sure I understand this, since this isn't a typical, we accept the consent agenda because we have a motion, we have a second. And then when we vote to accept the consent agenda, then there's no pulling off what Mrs. Rosario would like to pull off, correct? This vote has to fail in order to go back to pull.
That would be one process, Mrs. Zorg, absolutely, to go ahead and call for a vote on the pending motion. It is also possible for a board member to now make a motion to amend the pending motion, which would need a second, amend the motion somehow, which would need a second. We would then take a vote on the motion to amend, and assuming it passes,
Okay.
we then take a vote on the underlying motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, assuming
Okay.
the amendment passes.
Okay.
Did I
Yeah.
think I
So I need a motion to amend.
I make a motion to amend the consent agenda as approved. I would like to pull the minutes for the special meeting on April 16th, and do I say
Okay.
what, there's several items on here that have not been corrected as we pulled it last meeting for them to be changed, and they weren't changed.
Okay, so what are you looking at? 13?
Does there have to be a second to that?
Yes, there will be, but we have to know what her motion is, what she's making a motion to amend. What? So, Mrs. Rosario, we are looking at item A13, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are the item on that?
We do not have what we asked for during last time, which wasn't added, is who called the meeting, the names of the,
Oh, but you're getting into the details of
Right.
item 13. So if it gets approved to be pulled, then that's part of that discussion, correct?
Yes, if the amended motion is granted, once the underlying consent agenda motion is approved, then you would take up the issue with Mrs. Rosario after the
Okay.
consent agenda. Does that make sense?
Yes, so at this time, we're gonna, the amendment is to pull action, our consent item A13. And I have a motion. There needs to be a second. And Dr. Schiff with a second. So now we need to vote on the motion, the amendment, correct?
Only the motion to amend is all you would be
Okay.
calling for a vote on.
So at this time, do we speak to the motion, or do,
You may, yes, ma'am.
okay, would you like to speak to your motion, or wait until
I can speak to my motion now.
now or then?
Whenever.
I prefer, let's just get through this.
Okay.
Okay. Do you like to speak? Any others? Okay. All in
Yes,
favor?
actually, I would.
Okay, thank you.
Is it my understanding there's an investigation? So is that something we can talk about? That's my concern.
We're not talking about the investigation, we're talking about only the written minutes.
I understand that. Okay. Ms. Diagresta, is there something that, can we talk about the minutes and how they should be adjusted or changed or not?
Yes, ma'am, you can certainly talk about your minutes. They're simply a reflection of what happened at the meeting, which is also on a tape recording that is
Okay.
posted on your website.
That's
So
all I
yes,
wanted
ma'am,
to know.
you may
Okay.
certainly talk about the minutes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you like to speak? No. Okay. So at this time, we are voting on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
What do we, so we're voting to approve the amendment, is that
The
right?
To
amended consent.
pull consent A13 to action, okay?
Okay.
So that is the amendment.
Okay.
So I need a motion for approval,
I make motion.
We already did that.
or I'm sorry, a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Any and opposed? 2.
Aye.
In favor? or-
Yes.
Okay,
Sure, I'd
We'll
like to vote in
discuss it.
favor, too.
okay. Okay,
I just want to make sure we could discuss it. That's what
okay,
my concern was.
thank you. 5-0, Mrs. Esplin, okay? Now, at this time, we need to go back and we need to approve our consent agenda as amended. We have a motion, Mrs. Justice. Would you like to speak to your motion now? Mrs. Barrenborg, second, to approve the consent as amended?
Sure. That's fine.
Okay,
I don't wish to speak.
okay. Any other board members like to speak at this time for the consent? Well, since I won't be able to speak after this, for the consent after we vote, I'm just very excited about an approval that we're about to make on hiring our CFO, and I'm very excited, and I believe,
He's not here.
Okay, he's not here. I was hoping that he could be here, but I just look at the wealth of knowledge and experience that he's gonna bring to this district from Duval County, which is, I believe, the 6th largest school district in the state of Florida, 20th largest school district in the United States, with a $1.7 billion budget, with about 9,000 teachers and 127,000 students. So I am just very excited, and I feel like we're really heading in the right direction with approving that consent tonight with him on there. Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to thank Dr. Moxley
Mm-hmm.
for moving this along, for seeing that we can't keep going without a CFO, and making sure that that was a top priority of your current administration, and for making sure, I know that there were a variety of ways this could have gone, but we could no longer wait for it to happen. So I just want to thank you for taking charge in that in the way that you did.
Thank you for your support.
Okay. All right. So all in favor of the consent agenda as amended?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. All right, so we are moving on. Okay, so we are at the action agenda, and at this time, we do have consent agenda item A13. We haven't had this in a while, but Mrs. Diagresta, have Mrs. Rosario speak to that since she pulled it, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
That's fine.
go ahead.
I just, this was pulled during our last meeting, and I don't see any changes to it. I don't see where any changes or edits were made to it from last month, from the last meeting. So I just would ask that in section 6A, it says, discussion and potential action regarding April 10th, 2019 letter from Mr. Stivers, Esquire, Mrs. Barborg, Mrs. Justice, and Mrs. Rosario. But Dr. Schiff and Mrs. Zork are not included in that, and you both were also in that discussion during that action item. So you both should be added to that agenda. You're both missing from there. Also, who called the meeting is not added to this. That was something that you pulled it during last meeting, Mrs. Zork, to have that added. And when we turn it over, well, I have mine on the other side, during the discussion item, or rather during school board member matters, there is no discussion of what we actually discussed. There's no content, rather, is the word. There's no content, there's no bullet points of what we discussed. It only says board members discussed, but it doesn't say what our conversation was. So I think that that's inaccurate to what we actually discussed. There should be bullet points about the items that we discussed during that meeting. So those need to be changed. The question about whether it's legal or not, that's not why I pulled it at this point. But our discussion items should be bulleted in there. Having Dr. Schiff and Mrs. Zork added to the action agenda for discussion, because you were involved in that discussion, and then adding who called the meeting. Those were the items that were requested last session and were not put on there. So basically, there were no changes from the last meeting.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Having looked at other meeting minutes, I don't see bulletin points of discussions in other minutes. I think because everything's recorded and on a video, people can look back and see the actual meeting. So I'm okay with no bullet points. I think that's fine. I don't remember Like, do we put on all our other minutes who called the meeting?
This is a special meeting. That's
No,
why it's,
I know, I'm
should
just,
be
I'm just
special.
asking her, do we do that normally? Mrs. Ork, do we do that normally?
Do we,
Yeah, like
Have-
if you called a meeting for us, because you have called special meetings.
mhm.
Is it listed in our minutes who calls the special meeting? Because it should be done the same, no matter what.
Mrs. DeAgresta, how practices in the past? Because do you recall a special meeting being called by 3 board members with not being the chair and, or the superintendent? How were those minutes created?
To my memory, I can't remember another time when a board meeting, a specially called board meeting, was instigated by a majority or 3 members of the school board.
Okay.
In response to the other part of Mrs. Berenborg's question, to my memory, minutes of this board have not included anything about who calls the meeting, whether it's the superintendent or the chairperson or whoever might have instigated the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So we are, your point's taken, because hindsight's 20/20, and going forward, and I think Dr. Moxley did a good job of it, our last special meeting on Friday she called the special meeting so that we could change the organizational chart, and at the very beginning, she stated that she called the meeting and the purpose of the meeting. So, you know, hindsight's 20/20. Going forward, I think anytime a special meeting is called, we're gonna have to look at drafting policy to make sure that that happens in the beginning.
I agree. If
So-
it's in our policy, we need to follow it.
Right.
But there is already an established, we don't need policy. There's already statute that says, or the regulations that state how special meetings are supposed to be run. There's already established protocol for who calls special meetings, how a special meeting can be run, and who ought to be present for those special meetings. I don't think that we have to draft another policy to state what's already protocol for that. And last month, when you pulled this for those edits, that was before Dr. Moxley's special meeting. So all I'm saying is what we pulled it for last month should be done. It wasn't done.
I
Ms.
think,
Berenborg?
yeah, she specifically said who calls the meeting. I think we're talking about the minutes, though.
Yes, in the minutes.
Right, but
The
in the
minutes-
minutes, it doesn't say by statute that you have to put all that.
But here's the thing, the minutes are our minutes, our business meeting minutes. If we can choose whatever we want to be in our minutes because they're our minutes. I mean, we call that, we can say, please add XYZ to our minutes because they're our business meeting minutes. Does that make sense?
No,
And plus,
well,
again,
at
I'm
the
going back
last-
to what you
at-
pulled it
no,
last month.
at the last meeting, I did pull this because I felt like I needed a little bit more clarity and information in it, and I had not had time to speak with the attorney and work through this. This is what,
Did you have time to meet with her since?
we have talked, and I've talked to many, many people about this, and this is above and beyond what we typically do. And,
How?
in putting the description, putting where we've posted it, and I do want to make a clarification that, you know, at that meeting of April 16th, when I said we shouldn't even be having this meeting, it was out of my own philosophical beliefs that I don't like calling special meetings for things like that. It wasn't that I felt that we were doing something illegal or improper, because I have already known that we have numerous other areas that we post this, but my point then was, that was my philosophical belief at the time. So, you know, it really goes back to, we've went above and beyond, and if it does come back that this was not a properly called meeting, we still have to memorialize that we had a meeting, and we can't you know, in the advice that I've been given is we can't have two rights to make a wrong. We cannot not approve these minutes because we did have a meeting. And this does memorialize what happened in that meeting.
But I don't think anybody is asking for this not to be approved. I'm just asking for it to be edited.
And where are you asking for it to be edited?
I just said, we should,
Up there?
3 things I said. We should add who called the meeting. We should add in section 6A, Dr. Schiff's name and Mrs. Zork's name. You
Okay.
were both involved in that discussion and that potential action. And in the back, I think that we should have bullet points of our discussion under board member matters. Those are the 3 things that need to be added to these minutes.
Okay, on that.
I'm not asking for them to,
So action item A, discussion of potential action regarding April 10, 2019, letter from Mr. Stivers. So the 3 names that are here. Do we know why only those 3 names are there?
No, ma'am, I don't, I'm sorry.
Let's
I mean,
see.
to my memory, that's what the original agenda, when it was published on that Friday, that's what the agenda reflected. And so I believe when the practice here is to reiterate what was on the original agenda and then add in whatever action is taken from there.
We have up here district school board members attending were Chairman Laura Zork, Vice Chairman Tiffany Justice, and board members Terry Barrenborg, Jackie Rosario, and Dr. Mara Schiff, Dr. Mark Rendell, Superintendent of School, and Suzanne D'Agresta, Attorney, were all present. So I don't see what
again,
adding that.
being present does not necessarily mean who was involved in that discussion. So basically here, what it's stating without Dr. Schiff and Mrs. Zork's name there, is that you 2 were not involved in any of that discussion.
Is that how we normally put it in our
Your
minutes?
name's not there.
No.
Yeah, it says discussion and potential action regarding only 3 names and not Dr. Schiff or Mrs. Zork.
Right.
Should we just
Look
take
at
it out?
action agenda from other places. It doesn't list all of the names of the people who were involved. It lists the person who was bringing the meeting, or the item,
Bringing it forward.
bringing it forward. So yes, we all had a discussion, which is what it says in the first paragraph.
Okay, then I want my name removed, because I didn't bring that forward.
Mrs. Orr,
Yes, ma'am.
I think for the fact that one called, asked, would I like to meet, that's bringing it forward. So I'm okay with having my name there
Okay.
because I did agree that I wanted to discuss it, so.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure if you agreed on the phone
No.
to do that,
No.
but that's how it was presented to me, so I agreed, I wanted to discuss it.
Does it really matter to have the 3 names there? We already know who was present. By putting that action, it insinuates only 3 discussed it, but if we take it out, it reverts back to the fact that we were all there and we all participated in the discussion.
I'm good with
Is
that,
that correct?
removing all names.
Yes, ma'am, the video will reflect that all 5 were present and participating to the extent that you spoke to the issue.
Okay.
And there's also the action that's reflected, that a motion was made and it was seconded, and then there was a 5-0 vote. So it reflects that all 5 of you were involved in that, so.
I'm good with removing those 3 names. I just want it to be clear that all board members were involved in that discussion and not just 3.
You okay with that? Just striking all the names? Okay, Mrs. Barrenborg, you're,
That's fine.
okay. All right. All right. Mrs. Esplin, on action A, it is, we're gonna strike Mrs. Barrenborg, Mrs. Justice, and Mrs. Rosario's name from the minutes. Are there, okay, let's go on to, Mrs. Rosario, I do agree that the format of this, we need to be consistent. I don't really understand, in the past, we've not ever bullet pointed the school board member matters. I don't, I mean, we have the video that memorializes the entire meeting. So I'm not really seeing then to go outside that.
Well, this is our first special meeting. We didn't
No,
have
but
a special meeting before that. This is our very first special
I think it's
meeting.
appropriate to keep it consistent
Mhm.
with the minutes, the way we normally do them, whether it's a business meeting or a special meeting. I don't know that we need to change how that item gets recorded specifically there. I
Okay.
think we do minutes how we do minutes, whether it's a special meeting or it's a business meeting.
That's not necessarily true. Because a special meeting in and of itself has special bulleted points or special points in which we have been called to discuss that particular item. The fact here is that in this section, the description here doesn't say anything at all. Board members then continued the conversation. What conversation? The very last sentence, the board members then continued the conversation. We need to know what that conversation was. Otherwise, what's the point of taking minutes? And I'm not saying we need to have, you know, sentence by sentence, line by line, you know, an encyclopedia of what actually happened and conversation and quote. That's not, I'm just saying that there should be a better outline of what was actually discussed during board member matters and/or during that discussion session. Because that day, the board member matters was moved to
So
discussion.
what if we put, because that was technically, I wouldn't even touch board member matters, but I do see where we could add, please see. It really was we started off with the board member matters and it
Moved it.
become a discussion, so we moved it to discussion. So it really should reflect that, you know, the topic was calling of the meeting.
And I have to say that this particular meeting, during this particular session of that meeting, it was quite contentious. And I don't mean to belabor the fact that we ought to put down all of those bullet points that were contentious, but the fact that there was a deep discussion during this particular evening, it ought to be reflected in the minutes appropriately.
So I don't think we should touch school board member matters. We should just add, please see, it's under discussion.
Right, but I think what I hear Mrs. Rosario saying, what I hear your concern with it being under school board member matters would be to put the bullet points under discussion and take away the line that says see school board member matters for this. However, what's different is that usually under discussion, it is who brought what items for discussion, which we now do at our board discussion in the afternoon. So at this discussion, people didn't, as I recall, we didn't bring specific matters for discussion. We continued having a discussion about the
Yeah.
item at hand. So there weren't separate, the discussion about the issue that the meeting was called for happened, but school board members did not bring forward in separate items for discussion. Which is
Correct.
generally, so when they get recorded under there, it's because people brought specific items.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't happen here.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, the mention that a particular item was moved to discussion, that's not, it's that there's no talking points here of what was moved to where or what that conversation was.
What would you like to see in the wording? What do you propose?
Board members discussed,
Under discussion.
or you can even mention, I don't know who brought it up. Nancy would have to re-watch the video during that session. I can't remember exactly who
We can't.
actually started that, but you can say, I think I was
You
me
did.
who started it, that board members, that Jacqueline Rosario began the discussion. that, and I don't want to misquote myself, my own self,
No.
brought
No,
up.
what's your talking
The talking, I'm
points?
telling you right now, the talking points were that I brought up that I did not call the meeting. I wanted to know who called the meeting. And that from there, our discussion pursued on who called the meeting. I mean, that, no
Okay.
one knew what the protocol was for that, who called it, how did we get there?
Okay, so this is what, strike, please see board member matters for this portion. Have calling of the meeting, Jackie Rosario. And that's all it needs to say,
Have call of the meeting?
calling of the meeting. That was what the topic was about. That's what your discussion topic was about. We don't have to dive in all the.
Who called the meeting? It should be a
The
question.
topic was calling of the meeting.
All right, you want to say it? That's,
Or it could be, like, meeting protocol, or, yeah.
Mhm.
calling of the meeting,
Mhm.
meeting protocol. That's, I'm okay with
Mhm.
that.
Okay. Meeting protocol. And then let's just leave board members
As is.
as is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
So
then
we
it
have
says,
2 amendments. Actually, we do have another slight amendment up at the top where it said email legal advertisement to, it's TSN newspaper. Was that supposed to be TC Palm? No, TSN? What is that? Oh,
Treasure.
Scripps.
Coast News?
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that.
where is that?
The TSN newspaper, Treasure Coast Scripps. Okay,
Oh, okay.
so we're okay with the amendments?
Yes,
Okay,
got it.
Do we need to move and approve?
okay, so we need a motion to approve as amended.
I make a motion to approve as amended the board meeting minutes for April 14th, I mean,
16th.
April 16th, 2019, to be edited or to be corrected
Amended.
Okay,
as amended.
Second. I'll second.
okay. All right. We've already had discussion, but anyone else want to discuss this? I hope not, but
Thank
let's.
you very much. I appreciate all of you.
Okay. Clarity on that? The 2 amendments? Dr. Schiff? So all in favor with approving the
Talking to Mike.
minutes as amended? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is for.
Yeah, that's-
Check.
Thank you, ladies.
5-0. Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on to action item A, approval to set public hearing date to adopt a revised bylaw. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, board members, this afternoon you made some changes to the policy 0169.1, public participation at board meetings, along with a revision to the public input card. And those have been presented to you this evening, and we are requesting your approval to move forward with the adoption process with the revisions as presented to you tonight. This public hearing and adoption will be noticed for a public hearing held on July 30th, 2019 at 5:01 PM, and I am recommending approval of that.
Okay, I need a motion for approval.
Second.
Did I see Mrs. Barrenborg?
I'm
She
trying,
mouthed it.
I'm trying
She
down here.
did it.
Where's that light system we were talking about?
Okay, so Mrs. Barrenborg with a motion, and I, second.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Justice with a second. Mrs. Barrenborg,
Yes, can I speak to the motion?
you sure.
Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to my fellow board members. I thought it was really good that we came to consensus on this so quickly. And Dr. Moxley, thank you. And Ms. DiAgresta, thank you so much for getting this done so quickly. And I appreciate the fact that you looked, and I read it over quickly because we were given it as we sat for this meeting. So I appreciate the fact that it was done so quickly, and it looks to be in order of what we discussed. So thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Rosario? No?
No, I'm just, yes.
That's fine.
I'm glad that I'm glad that we came to consensus on this. I'm glad that the policy has been revised. The turnaround was just incredible. And now, for those who have not seen it, there's going to be a card. So the card is actually going to somewhat replace the long form or that paper for citizen input. And it's really very concise, and I believe that citizens will be pretty pleased with the format of it. And just to clarify some points, all citizens can speak to any item essentially for 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes. And that would also include discussion session or discussion items that might be on our agenda as well. So I'm happy. I feel like we have been accomplishing lots of work lately, so I'm happy about that.
Okay. I agree. So, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to B, approval of dual enrollment agreement with Indian River State College for 2019-2020.
Yes, I'm recommending approval of the dual enrollment agreement with Indian River State College. This also includes, in addition to a dual enrollment at Collegiate High School, which provides our secondary students with an opportunity to complete 30 college credit hours in conjunction with the CAPE certification. And we have Dr. Catherine Knoll here representing the college, so thank you for being here tonight.
I need a motion.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes, please. I just want to say thank you to Indian River State College for being such a wonderful community partner with us. Having the college here in our community is wonderful for our students and our families. This is not without a cost to the district. It is costly to offer dual enrollment, but it is something I think is so worth it. Many of our students graduate with 2 years of college and then are able to go on. It's a wonderful advantage for many students, and we have a lot of students that take part in it. So again, thank you to Indian River State College for their partnership in this, and I hope to see us be able to work together more in the future at our technical center and doing some different things and expanding opportunities for every student in our district.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I can't add anything else to that, so thank you, other than thank you very much for this partnership, and may it continue.
Dr. Knoll, would you like to say anything? Are you good? You're like, yeah. Any other discussion? Ladies? No? No, I appreciate the partnership, and you guys have been great to work with, and not only do you offer an education to our students, but you do a really good job in trying to do the, go out and recruit and bring in our employees to help further their education too, and that's a great partnership that I feel that we have as a school district with you guys, so I appreciate you reaching out to our employees. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to C, approval to award invitation to bid School District of Indian River County 09-0-2019 JC for structural cabling services to Jericom Inc. as the primary award, and Bazan Cox and Associates Inc. and Universal Cabling Systems Inc. as alternate awards. Dr. Moxley?
Yes, I am recommending approval of this, to award this bid. This is for our cabling fiber fiber cabling, and as needed when we need to replace that. So I, again, am recommending approval.
Okay. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Barrenborg, with the motion, would you like to speak?
Nope, just thank you very much, Dr. Moxley, for getting all this done.
Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Any further discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Moving on to D. Let's see. Okay. D, approval of agreement for contracted services per SDIRC 09-0-2019, JC for structural cabling services. Am I repeating myself? It's just basically the same. Services to Geralcom Inc. as the primary ward of Bazan, Cox and Associates Inc. and Universal Cabling Systems Inc. as alternate awards.
They are very similar, but there is a difference, and Mr. Carver is here.
So to clarify the distinction between the two, one is to award the bid, the invitation to bid, and the other is approval of the agreement, the term contract. And you're going to see that a couple of times tonight, just so you know, and they're going to be close together, so they correspond with each other.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. And so I am recommending approval of this. This is
Okay.
the agreement or the contract.
Okay.
I'll move approval.
Okay. Mrs. Barrenborg?
Not sure if this is the time to bring it up, but items like this, could they be put on consent?
Yeah, yes, actually, the next time we do our things like this, I think these are very appropriate on consent.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Schiff, second?
No, ma'am, that was my question.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to E, approval to award RFP SDIRC 15-0-2019 JC for district-wide mowing to Coast Landscaping, Inc. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this particular is awarding a bid for the district-wide mowing. This is to do all our mowing, and you know, we've done this before, and so this is to Coast Landscaping. I wanted to point out that the initial term of this agreement, the district will save $162,000 over the impact or the term of the agreement, or the bid. So I recommend approval.
Okay, need a motion?
I make a motion?
Second. Oh, never mind.
Mrs. Rosario, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you. Yes.
Go ahead.
There was a landscaping agreement that came up some months ago that we did not approve, and my memory isn't perfect on this, and I'm wondering if this is, because I remember the amount was about the same, and there were some questions about the amount for the landscaping, and I don't remember that conversation exactly, if anybody else does, like
Carver, I
Mr. Carver.
So at the January board meeting, I believe it's the later January, we brought forward an annual renewal of the previous RFP, and the board had directed the staff and superintendent to go out for bid, so they granted us a 6-month renewal, and it's going to run through the end of July, and this will replace it. We saved a few dollars per acre, and when you aggregate it over the term, like Dr. Moxley said, it saves the district about $162,000. So,
And is that because we split it up into 6 months and 6 months? Because I remember that amount, and that was the 6 months amount that came before the board in January?
it's pretty close. It's only a few dollars difference per acre. But the 6-month period, the one that we brought in January was for the whole year. The board just chose to grant us a 6-month renewal at that time. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Sort of not. Because I remember the amount being around the same, like 500,000, and I'm wondering if if when it came up as a year, but now it's coming up as 6 months, but the amount is the same, I think I'm missing something.
Okay, so the item that was brought before you in January was the previous RFP that we had done. It was for an annual renewal, and it was for about $560,000, okay? I don't remember that exactly, that number. What the board approved that night was a 6-month extension to give the staff and superintendent a chance to rebid it, because the consensus of the board was to put it out for bid again. So you gave us 6 months to do that, and this award that's before you tonight is going to replace the previous bid.
So this is for a year?
That's for 1 year, yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
That's the part that I wanted to know. Okay, I wasn't clear.
Yeah, I also wanted to bring it up because I remember this discussion. Also, this is the same company.
No,
No.
That's what
we're
I'm
going
wondering.
we're going with a new company, and
Okay.
we use the RFP as a delivery model, and we had a staff committee evaluate other areas and just price. This award reflects the low-cost option,
Okay,
which is good, but they scored high in the other areas that we graded them. So we're fairly confident that they can provide us with the same level of service that we received from the previous vendor.
okay, thank you.
So the board's direction in this particular area worked to our benefit?
Certainly did, yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate, I know at the time when this was brought forward, when we said send it back out, I do acknowledge that that's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, in January, we were in a situation that we really didn't know what our budget was gonna look like a year out, but we could pretty well determine that 6 months from now, we would be able to pay for that amount that was brought forward in January. So that was the original thinking, is if we had to do some cuts, no pun intended, that it was going to be probably in that, for me, my mindset was I was going to look in that area and keep it out of the classroom. But it's even better now that you did send it out and it come back at a better cost to the district. So thank you. Go ahead.
I don't remember reading it in the contract, but now that you brought that up about the classroom, does this company also only cut on the weekends or when kids aren't in class?
Yes, ma'am. The recommendation that's before you tonight is to go with the option that provides services during non-instructional hours. The only difference in cost for the other option was $1 per acre. So,
Great.
so for just under $500 per cut, we're getting a service that's not going to be disruptive to instructional time.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any questions, comments?
I mean, I think it's beyond just being disruptive to the instructional time, but it's also having more,
Safety.
having more in and out on the campus with gates and things and people coming in and out. So I like the fact that as a parent, I like it, as a school board member, I like it. It's just, I think it's a really student-focused decision.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I'm just going to go ahead and sit.
All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Okay, let's move on to F.
The agreement.
Yes. Action F, approval of agreement for contracted services for lawn care services per RFP SDIRC 15-0-2019 JC for for district-wide mowing to Coast Landscaping, Inc. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this is the agreement for the bid award that you just took action on in the previous agenda item, and I recommend approval.
Okay, need a motion?
Make a motion?
Second?
Mrs. Rosario, would you like to speak?
No,
Okay.
actually, I just have a comment. This might have been done, oh yeah, it was, May 22nd. Well, it still has Dr. Rendell's name up on top. I know it's
Yeah.
pretty minor, but I don't know if that's going to change moving forward.
Yes, that's already been
Okay.
taken care of. It's just, it's reflective of the time period that
Yeah,
it was
I
done.
kind of figured that. All right.
Okay,
I have a.
go ahead.
I think this is a Mr. Carver question. Can you, It says, "The estimated cost to the district is $522,000. The term of the contract is August 1st, 2019 to July 31st, 2022. That $522,000 is all those years, not per year, right?
No,
Or
it
is
says
per year?
the annual estimated
Oh,
financial
got it.
impact to the district
You're
is
right.
522
So it's 522.
per year
1920, 2021, and
For 3 years.
21-22.
for 3 years. Yep.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that we had a discussion about the letterhead as well, and I know that we're going to see that several times throughout our votes tonight, and she discussed that those are all going to be updated, so, because that was a point that we discussed as well. So I wanted to make sure.
And on that topic, the website has to be updated too. I noticed that the other day.
Oh,
The website
okay.
hasn't been updated.
Okay. We'll take care of that.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? No. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to G. Approval to renew agreement for SDIRC number 22-0-2018 JC RFP for athletic fields management with Express Real Grinding, Inc. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this particular item is to renew the agreement with this company to do the real Bermuda grass athletic fields that we have at some of our schools. So this is a one-year agreement, and I am recommending approval.
Need a motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Barrenborg?
Thank you for clearing up that Express Real Grinding is doing grass, so I was just
Yes.
curious about that. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to H. Approval to award invitation to bid SDIRC 16-0-2019 JC for electrical contractors to Bismarck Electrical Services, Inc. as the primary award, and Paragon Electric Avero, Inc., Geralcom, Inc., and Complete Electric as alternate awards. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, H and the next one is the corresponding agreement. This is for electrical services, and certainly we need to have companies on approved to do work in our schools, so I'm recommending approval.
I need a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Dr. Schiff? Nope. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Aye. Action aye. Aye, approval of agreement for contracted services per bid SDIRC 16-0-2019 JC for electrical contractors to Bismarck Electrical Services, Inc. as the primary award, and Paragon Electric Avero Inc., Geralcom, Inc., and Complete Electric, Inc. as alternate awards. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this is for the agreement for those contracted services for electrical. I recommend approval.
Okay, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Schiff?
No. No,
Mrs.
thank you.
Any discussion? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay. Let's see, action item J, approval to award SDIRC number 18-0-2019 JC ITB co-op bid for milk products to Borden Dairy of Florida. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this item is our award to purchase milk products for our school cafeterias for the breakfast, lunch programs, snack programs, and à la carte. I recommend approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Mrs. Barrenborg.
Yes, I would like to speak to this. Having been in school and recently, as well as many years doing cafeteria duty, I see milk being thrown out all the time. It drives me nuts because we have people that could use that milk instead of it being thrown away. I'd like to know if we do recycling, where you put it in the ice cooler or whatever, to be able to have other kids use it. We did that every morning and put it into snack time for the kindergartners or fifth graders or whatever. I just hate seeing something that we pay for being thrown away. And kids need to be taught that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be thrown away. They should be either given to somebody else if you don't want it. And I'd like to see that we're doing that in our schools.
Thank you for that. I would have to research that, and I am happy to do so. And if it's not something we are doing, I will certainly do
Oh,
our
food
homework on that.
services here.
Okay.
Dr. Moxley, Chairman Zork, Ms. Symington would like to come address that issue if you'd
Great.
like.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry I'm springing this on you, but when I saw the milk and how much it cost, it really validated why we need to recycle.
If you'll tell us your name and your position here in the district?
Good evening, Board. My name is Tracy Simonton. I'm the Director of Food Nutrition Services in the department with the district. I do sympathize with all the milk that's going in the trash, and I do agree that a lot of it needs to be, the children need to be educated, either consume your milk or, of course, pass it on to a friend who is thirsty or whatever. As far as donating it or anything, it comes to be a health department issue. If anything else.
That's not what I'm referring to.
Okay.
What I'm referring to is having a share, it's
It's a
like
share
an-
table.
Right, but it's
Mhm.
not that much. It's just a ice bucket or a cooler. You throw it all in there, and kids either take it at the end or they take it for a snack time. It's our kids taking it and our kids using it.
Right.
Is that allowable?
The health department is really strict on that. It needs to be monitored every 25, 30 minutes. Temperatures need to be taken. A lot of the cafeteria monitors and custodians and/or cafeteria staff do not have the resources available to keep on top of that in order for the health department to be satisfied. It is something we're working toward, getting together some kind of a policy to keep us in line with the health department regulations.
I'd be happy to have a discussion with you later about this if we could.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, go
Do
ahead.
we offer water as an option?
We do have water fountains in each of the cafeterias, but we don't offer bottled water as a meal component. It doesn't count toward the reimbursable meal, no.
So if our students are thirsty and they buy lunch, their drink options are what?
They have milk, and they have the option of a juice if it's offered that day.
And is there any reason that we don't offer water bottles, small water bottles for purchase instead of milk, in lieu of milk?
They are a little bit more expensive. It's something that I can look into for next school year.
Personally,
But-
as a parent, and I've had other parents speak to me, water doesn't go bad. So if it was unopened, it could be reused if the student took it and didn't drink it. But I think that considering that we live in Florida and it's very hot and kids get dehydrated, that offering water as an option might be good. If you have a child that isn't able to drink milk and the juice isn't offered that day, they don't have a beverage except for a water fountain that they have to get up to go use. And I know, having been in a lot of cafeterias, lunch owners don't love when kids are up out of their seats trying to go get a drink of water. So
Correct.
just a thought from this person.
Hi, I appreciate the idea of water, because, it'd be good to have something that's not a sugar-filled drink. But I'm not crazy about all of the reusable plastic bottles. Is there some way to create a water option that isn't another gazillion plastic water bottles? Like, is there a way to have something refillable? Is there a way to have cups and, or something, and a water station right by where they do it, so they don't have to get up again and do it, they can do it on their tray, but something that avoids all those plastic bottles?
We do have a program that we're starting at the high schools this year with refillable aluminum bottles so that they can continue to refill that. So we're looking into expanding that to possibly
great.
middle schools the following year.
That would make me very happy.
Let me ask you a question, and I've asked this before, and I don't know if it's changed yet. But when a student goes through line, they have to take a milk, correct? They have to take a milk or a juice? It's not an option to take nothing?
They do not have to take a milk. They must take either a fruit or a vegetable. They must take 3 items that are offered that day, so they could take the entree, they could take a juice, they could take a fruit, and that would be considered their reimbursable meal, so no, milk is not required.
Do we see, have you heard if there's a way to let the students know if you're not going to drink your milk today, don't take it? Versus it just continuing going in the trash?
And that's probably going to lead to education, maybe back to school, getting with the teachers, doing announcements on the TV or over PAs to let them know that, no, you do not have to take a milk. Because them going right into the trash, like you said, that's very wasteful. I agree.
It came up in, I think it was a board discussion, might have been a workshop, where Mrs. Justice mentioned about the cost of meals. I'm not asking to discuss this now. Yeah, no, I'm not going there. But it came up about the cost of meals being $2.25 or $2.50 or something. In my experience with my own child's meals, and when I check, like, you know, what he ate, it's $2.25 or whatever it is for the primary meal, but not for all of the other stuff is, you know, then it's 50 cents for a cookie, and then it's another whatever it is for the drink. I don't know if that's only true at the high schools or if that's elsewhere.
That's everywhere.
That's everywhere. So if they have to take, they have to take a meal, they have to take a fruit or a vegetable, however you just said it. That's not the standard cost of the meal. That's in addition to the entree, which is the $2.25 or $2.50, right?
No,
Or
that's
that's part of it.
It's sold as one unit.
Okay, so it's just my child who keeps getting all the expensive
The extra
extras.
items, correct.
You have to cut
My
off the
kids' meals are
chips.
like $5, $6 a day, like, dude, cut it out.
And we can put a limit on that. if you
The
need
what?
it. We can put a limit on their account if you need that.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Just saying.
You can
Yeah, benefits.
Okay, because you are here and we are way off the topic of milk, but,
Wow, now let's vote.
but if there is a parent that historically has a student that uses their money to buy junk food, you could put stipulations in there, this is for,
Meals only, unable to purchase snacks, can only spend $1 a day, snacks on Fridays only, whatever you want it to say.
That's awesome. Thank you, you just made my night.
Teen moms,
Wait,
gosh. I
but-
like
But wait,
chips.
here's the interesting part. We have a board member whose son is in the system and did not know that.
Right.
I can only imagine how many
Right.
parents don't know this. And I am certain that not all of our parents watch our board meetings. So what can we do to ensure, other than classroom teachers, because our classroom teachers are busy with many other things.
Oh, absolutely.
What can we do to ensure that parents understand and know that this is available for them?
The beginning of school, either during orientations or first day of school, information that goes home with all of the parents. We always send home a newsletter, letting them know cost of meals, that they're required to do the fruit and vegetable. And we can add that this year to let them know that if you have a request that we put restrictions on your child's snack a la carte account, we can do that.
Now, it may result in no longer being on a speaking relationship with your own children, which is likely to happen in my house, but it's still good to know.
That's okay.
My child may no longer speak to me for the rest of high school, but, yeah.
And these letters are translated?
Yes, we do have them translated in Spanish.
Okay.
great. We also have a wonderful public information officer that could get the word out to parents. Do we know where she?
See?
See?
Right.
This is very,
Mrs. Work.
this is very important because this speaks to the communication, what's missing? Is it from us or what? Because something's amiss here.
Well, I don't think
all came
that,
out of
I do not think the students are gonna run home and tell mom and dad, hey, did you know?
You can limit my snack
Sure. I'm sure kids don't know it either.
Oh, I'm sure they do know it.
Some of
Well,
them,
And parents, like, I wouldn't known, like, all I know is he says, Mom, I'm out of money, and I go put more in the little payment thing.
Right.
But it's only, but I don't regularly go in and check what he's eating like I do his grades, for example. So unless I'm paying particular attention, I don't know that he's getting, all of this, I mean, you have to stay on top of it. There has to be, so what we're speaking to is a better way to do that than me having to constantly say, what did you have for lunch today? And then, checking on the little payment thing.
right.
Are we ready to vote on milk?
Mrs.
Vote on milk.
Are
Mrs.
we,
Berenborg.
okay, go ahead. Do you want to
I
speak on
opened a
milk?
huge can of worms with this.
Really?
I just want to go back to, this is a huge amount of money. Huge. And I don't think people are aware of how many milks are thrown away every single day in every single school. I've counted. It's sad. And so we need to educate our children. And if there's anything we can do, I want to talk to you more about this, to make it so that we can do share tables, share programs. Because when we have people that are starving, when we have our own kids that are thirsty and starving later on, and we threw it away that morning or that afternoon, as I say to kids, somebody else can have that, as it goes in the garbage. We need to educate our kids.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, our kids get milk.
And limits.
Okay, moving on to K. Approval to renew SDIRC number 21-0-2018 JC ITB for athletic supplies and uniforms with multiple vendors. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, we've dealt with electrical services and milk, and now we're going to move to our athletic arena, and I'm happy to do that. So this is a renewal for athletic supplies and uniforms, and I am pleased to recommend approval.
Okay, I need a second. Dr. Schiff, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I do not want to open this.
No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay. Action item L. Approval of Focus Schools Software 5-year amendment and 1819 license for student information systems. Dr. Moxley?
Yes, I am recommending approval of this. This is our student software system running all our student records. Focus is the name of it, and so I'm recommending approval of this. This is a 5-year renewal.
Okay. I need a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Berenborg?
No, thank you.
Any other discussion? No. I want to say thank you to the voters who have, and are actually the taxpayers who has given us the ability to pay for this through the millage. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Action item M, approval to issue purchase order to Power School for Year 2 hosting services. Dr. Moxley?
Yes, this was commonly known as Performance Mattered. It's now Power School. It is our system, data management system that handles our benchmark assessments, student data. Our schools use it through Unify, so I'm recommending approval.
Move approval. Second.
Okay. Yeah. Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Dr. Schiff? No? Any other, go ahead.
Yes, I believe we discussed this matter, and I asked whether or not the item bank was included in this, and you said yes.
Yes.
It was part of this whole thing. I'd just like to ask, because I didn't get to, I'm sorry. And I think the question's for Ms. Dampier, but I'm going to ask you. About the item bank, is that something that our teachers can access and there are items in there that they have created, or can our teachers create the items and then pull them for when they need them?
I believe the answer is yes and yes, but I'm going to look at Mrs. Dampier to confirm.
Yes, we have a database where we house our unit assessments, but our test bank is is very large. So teachers have access so they can create their own if they wanted to create formative assessments, quizzes, et cetera.
So teachers can go in there and create,
Yep.
let's say the kids didn't do very well on a unit test and they want to reteach, they can go in there and create their own
Yes.
retest?
Yes,
Okay.
they can create their own tests.
And it's done by standard?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
I just want to make sure, I know that's possible. Is it happening?
Some schools are, it's optional that they can use that test bank. We're encouraging them to use the formative assessments, but also they can use formative assessments on the desk, a ticket out the door. So we're not mandating that a teacher use the test bank. They know that it's available and they have access to it when we purchase the system.
And they get PD on this, so new teachers coming in will get PD knowing that that's available?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? No, I'm looking at, we'll be paying for this through our .5 voter millage.
Yes, yes.
So, again, thank you to our taxpayers and our
Bless you.
residents of the county for
God bless
approving
you.
that. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, N, approval to piggyback Florida Cisco WSCA contract for, do I have to say all the, AR 233-4322000-WSCA-14-ACS for 5-year licensing, hardware and software maintenance support from Presidio. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this particular agreement is a 5-year agreement. It's for our switches, voice collaboration systems, all those techie things that we referenced. I want to highlight that this commitment over our previous, our current licensing model, we're switching to this, actually provides a 5-year savings of $154,879. So thank you to our IT people for always looking for those efficiencies. So I recommend approval.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Mrs. Justice.
Mr. McDonald is the new Director of Information Technology, and I think he's doing a great job over there, so thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Mrs. Barrenborg.
Ditto, kudos, thank you.
Any other comments, discussion? No? I always like the sound of savings.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
great. So do we know where we're gonna put that 154 yet?
That is in the general fund.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. No other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to O, action O. Approval to piggyback Florida Cisco WSCA contract. AR 233-43220-WSCA-14-ACS to purchase 25 communication routers from CDW-G. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, this is for routers, and we're replacing routers in our schools, so routers are pretty important devices, so I recommend approval.
I make a motion?
Second. Mrs. Rosario?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Justice?
No, thank you.
Any other discussion? No, I just look at the pricing and it's like, it really does add up fast, doesn't it? It's
does.
for a router, it's what?
There goes the money you just saved.
Yeah, $2,225 for a router. I mean,
Yeah, there's that
you know,
154,000.
so really does add up fast when we have so many that we need to buy. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Okay, so we deleted P, we're moving on to Q.
Q has been deferred
Oh,
to
yeah.
July 2nd
Yes,
at 10
thank you.
o'clock.
Did we do P?
That was deleted
That was deleted by an
Mhm.
amendment.
through an amendment.
Yeah.
P was.
That
Yes,
will come
it was
back.
the approval to renew the 2019-22 agreement. So we're moving to R. Okay, approval for board memberships to the Florida School Board Association. You wanna, I see my name here, but do you wanna?
I'm happy to make a recommendation. I think that there's benefit for the training that they're offering, and, you know, whatever your desire is about master board or to do single components here, I just think the training is phenomenal, and I think it will help provide a consistent foundation as we build capacity in our district.
Mhm.
So I would recommend approval for the full board.
Okay.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Oh, Dr. Schiff and then Mrs. Justice. Dr. Schiff, would you like to speak to your motion?
I'm really in favor of this. As a new school board member, I have already benefited so much in relationship to FSBA, and even before we were members, the graciousness with which they supported it when I had questions, when I had issues that I really needed clarification on. They've been incredibly helpful, and they helped marshal us through a really difficult period. They helped me personally and us as a board collectively. I think that given that we are one of, I think, 2 or 3 districts in the state who are not members, I think that speaks to their value, that every district finds them to be valuable. Our direct experience with them recently in shepherding us through the process of the interim superintendent and finding us an extraordinary interim superintendent, I think speaks to the direct value we've received thus far. I really look forward to doing more work with them. So I hope that my fellow board members are as enthusiastic about that as I am, because I think they are an incredible resource for us in this state, particularly as we, and I said this in our meeting earlier, usher in a new era of how we work together in this district. And I think they're invaluable in helping support us in creating a new culture and climate, both for ourselves and for the district. So I'm in favor of this.
Mrs. Justice, would you like to speak to your
I
motion?
think Dr. Schiff spoke to it very well.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item? No?
No, I know I say no and then I speak. I
Three times
I
now.
know, because my brain, I think my mouth goes before my brain is actually caught up. I think that this would benefit all of us. I really do. I know that at the beginning I had my reservations because of some of their, 1 or 2 of their platform items, but legislative items. But overall, I see the incredible benefit that has really just, it has blessed us enormously up until this point. And you're right, Dr. Schiff. I mean, we have an extraordinary opportunity to work with a great interim superintendent at this point, and I don't believe that we would have gotten here had it not been for the support of the FSBA. I look forward to really any of the programs that they have, so I'm excited about it. I can support this. Thank you so much. Oh, I would like to add also, for those that are just tuning in right now, if we were to individually, just for the sake of this conversation, if individual board members did not want to be a member, they do not have to. In this case, it would turn out to be about a little bit more than $3,000 for each board member. So for an annual membership, a $3,000 annual membership of a professional organization such as this for school board members and superintendents alike. It's a pretty good deal. So it's not like we are, robbing the district, as some may think that it's not even necessary. Our professional growth can really just enhance our work here as board members and help us to know our role and our responsibilities. Some of the trainings, for those who do not know, could include board protocols, communication, the work of the leadership and resolving conflict, and responsible relationships, which is the roles and responsibilities. So I just wanted to add that part for those who were not aware of this membership for us. And thank you all for supporting that for us as well.
Mrs. Orr.
Go ahead, Mrs. Brandenburg.
Not only do I support joining as a board, I looked at the value in the fact that we're going to undergo a superintendent search. And I think that the discount and the value that we're getting is worth all of us joining. So yes, I agree. Thank you.
Go ahead. I want to clarify two things on that, Mrs. Rosario. I want to just be really explicit that it's not just the value for us as a board, it's what we as a board are then better equipped to do for the district.
Yes.
In our own professional development and training, as people who are supporting and shepherding the district. We want to be as knowledgeable and as expert and as efficient and as effective in that as possible, and to have the resources to do that. So I want to clarify, it's sort of not, it's not because like we want to go have a good time at conferences, right? It really is about how we do our job to enhance the district. One, two, Mrs. Barenborg, want to clarify that while I, at this moment, personally am in support of looking at FSBA to help us with the superintendent search, you've brought up in the past looking at other firms.
Yes.
My understanding is that other firms would be more expensive and provide a slightly different service, potentially, though not necessarily, in terms of their reach outside of Florida. I've been really satisfied with FSBA. I'm not against looking at other firms to do that, and would actually like to suggest, and I don't know who does this, I don't know the process for this, but that if we are going to be starting that search in the relatively near future, which I think we've talked individually with Dr. Moxley about, to make sure that that person comes on board in time to not hit, budget season and personnel season, and we're well prepared. A way that we, I know you've mentioned a couple of other firms that do this. Can we get quotes from those and services so that we can compare them to FSBA? Because if we're going to make this decision relatively soon, I personally would like to see that information at our January 23rd meeting, so that if we are going forward with FSBA or somebody else, we have. July 23rd.
Yeah, we knew what you meant.
Oh, did I say January? Sorry. Definitely July. That we have the information so that we can make that decision, if not at the July 23rd meeting, but very shortly thereafter, because that decision will be on us before we know it. And I'd like to make sure that we're comfortable with whatever decision we have, and we have the resources to make that decision.
I believe, and I would
Speak
defer to Mrs. DeGresta, I believe we can request proposals to be submitted to you, and that gives you a point of reference, and there's some common firms out there, whether you would like me to do that, or whether you'd like Mrs. DeGresta to do it, or she and I can work together and get that over the next several weeks and have that available when you meet again, or whenever you meet in the end of July.
However it goes, I would really like to have that information, because we're going to have to make this decision relatively soon. And
Get started.
In August sometime, we're going to have to make a decision about which way we're going. So,
Process.
yeah.
I know that Marion County, I believe it was, sent out an RFP for proposals for that. That was a few months ago, so that might be a starting point to see how.
That's
and I
correct.
believe Volusia County also had several firms that had submitted. And so looking at, those are two recent school districts that are starting this process, so starting there.
That'd be
We
great.
can do that.
And can that go on our agenda for July 23rd?
Yes. I mean,
Or
a pleasure of the board.
Is that,
Or
is that the board workshop or is that the superintendent?
Yeah.
I can't,
It's,
it's superintendent.
and I'm happy if you would like to have that on there
Okay.
using my time, if that's
Okay.
the pleasure of the board.
Yes, please.
Could we also include a timeline on there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that would be part of.
Even if it's tentative.
Mhm.
Okay, can we vote on action item R?
Yes, please.
Okay, no further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to superintendent report. Dr. Moxley.
Yes, just a few items. First of all, Jason Keeler is in the audience with us. Would you please stand up? Thank you. Mr. Keeler was on the personnel agenda, and I thank you for being here tonight as our new director of CTE. So, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Just a couple other items. I know that we thank you for the approving to do your membership with FSBA. Looking for a little bit of direction, whether I'd like to move forward in getting some training scheduled. I do think that we need to do the roles and responsibilities. Would you like me to look at scheduling for master board, or would you like me to schedule just one individual, the roles and responsibility, and just start there? I think either way, we can start there, and then if you decide you want to do master board, we would then pick up and do that.
I think we had some discussion today during our workshop about perhaps asking FSBA if they might be willing, because we do have an interim superintendent, for us to be able to start doing some of the modules of the master board training, but be able to work together if we bring in a new superintendent in the coming year, to be able to use some of those modules towards the master board training. So I'm happy to do either. I just think it would be nice to have that flexibility, considering the fact that they did help us to find you, and this is a unique situation.
Yep.
I'd actually like to ask, and not that exact question, but I'd like to ask Andrea Messina the question I asked Dr. Moxley today about the benefits and drawbacks of doing master board training with Dr. Moxley as an interim or waiting, and her recommendations on that, having done this many times with many districts. So far, any support and recommendations she's given me have been spot on. So I'd like
I would do that.
Yeah, to ask her that question. Depending on her answer, I think that I'm in favor of doing master board training, because I think it can only really help us come together as a board and create an environment for a new superintendent coming in. I want to create an exceptional environment for a new superintendent to come in, and I think we as a board, over the last 6 months, are coming together in a really nice way, and I would like to enhance that in a way that pretty much any potential candidate wants to work with us. And if master board helps us do that, I'm in.
I'm going down.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
okay with
Mrs.
both.
Barrenborn.
I'm okay with beginning with master board or beginning with the modules and then moving into master board. Whatever works best in the schedule and with the trainers, I'm certainly in favor of either.
I am too. There have been some additions I have on my schedule, so I think we need to update our schedules with you so that you know the best time for
That'd be
us
great.
to do that, I think.
That'd be great. All right, thank you for that direction. Just two other quick little items. I just want to reiterate to the board, we do have a special meeting on July 2nd. That is to deal with insurance topics. I also did request that we have a board workshop on July 19th. That is a Friday, and that's to stay in line with our budget workshops, because Mr. Bargeron is available on Fridays and will be in Florida. So if that, we can possibly look at doing that. We can do a 10 o'clock like we've done before. I am hopeful that Mr. Fagan might be available either that week or right at the start of next week. I think we will have a 2 or 3 week turnaround time, but fairly soon, and he'll hit the ground running.
What was that date again? I'm sorry.
July 19th, Friday, July 19th. And then I just want to say congratulations to Vero Beach High School. The principal, Sean O'Keefe, did send me a message that they received their official confirmation on their accreditation, their sex accreditation, advanced ed. They received notice of their continued accreditation. So compliment Vero Beach High School for their hard work and maintaining that accreditation. That is a great thing. And I have been out trying to visit all the schools. I think I've been to 7 schools now, 6 or 7, and we'll be continuing that. I want to try and get to every school, but I appreciate, one, being able to meet the staff that is there working during the summer, and having one-on-ones with our principals. We have a great team, and it's just a real pleasure to meet them and work with them and have those individual conversations. So I look forward to getting to all the schools, especially the ones that we talked about today in the capital plan. So thank you, board members, for a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Moving on to discussion, I did ask to, I believe it was yesterday after talking to Dr. Moxley and knowing that we were gonna add on a few more amendments, I had asked, if I could put this on because it is time sensitive. At this time, it's an ongoing issue that I've noticed sitting through many county government meetings that the insurance cost is a problem across the entire district. And I sat through a county commission meeting, which was about 3.5 hours. And they're struggling with some of the same issues that we're struggling with. And I did sit through that hoping that I can learn from some of their best practices, and there were some items that I have picked up on. And so what I'm asking of the board, and this is, I'm just throwing this out there because this is something that I would like to coordinate and put together and have it, set the date for the end of July, beginning of August, but to allow us to host a interlocal government workshop with the topic of increasing cost of health insurance, overview of best practices, and foreseeable challenges ahead that we are facing. The invitation to participate would go out to, obviously, the school board members, our staff that handles our health insurance, the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners and their HR staff, the hospital district board and their HR person, the Sebastian City Council and their HR staff, the Vero Beach City Council and their HR staff, and Fellsmere City Council with their HR staff. And send this invitation out. I had reached out to the board, to Mr. Jason Brown, and he seemed to be very excited about the idea of us all coming together and sharing our best practices. What are we doing? The purpose of the workshop would be to learn from each other, obviously best practices. What are we doing? What are they doing? What were past practices that should not be repeated that we have learned through trial and error? And if we wanted to share that and they could share theirs. What specific challenges are we faced with, and what proactive measures are we looking at? What actions have helped us in cost savings, to share that with each other. And what I'm hoping to come from, the worst case scenario, what could come from hosting a workshop like this is collectively we could look at common language for upcoming legislation platform. Something that setting through the county commission meeting, what was something that really stood out to me is the fact that the state has been giving us money for additional wages, but we're not really recognizing collectively that because of the rising cost of health insurance, it's taking away what we're able to go into collective bargaining with our police officers, our firefighters, our teachers, our staff. So it's not a unique problem that we're just facing here at the school district. It's across the state, and especially across our county is what I'm seeing. And secondly, what else could possibly come out of this is we just learn from each other and how to better manage the increasing cost of health insurance. And this is something I would like to coordinate and get together, and so I just wanted to propose this and make sure that all the board members know this is something that we all will be invited to attend and listen and participate in. Great. Go ahead.
I think it's a great idea. Thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us all to work together in tackling a problem that's plaguing all of us. And thank you for bringing it forward this evening. I look forward to being able to attend, hopefully.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Also, I wanted to know when you're looking at possibly doing this.
I am trying to coordinate times with some of the other local governments. I do know at the moment, and I don't want us to get caught up on the date, but if you guys give me some dates that you know you're not available. At this time, I have reached out to Mr. Brown and his HR staff, and he is available on July 30th because they do not have a meeting that morning. So that is one option, July 30th.
Well, the reason I bring that up is just maybe, like I said, we can update our schedules with Nancy. And if we're the ones doing the invitation, then we should have at least a quorum so that if we're inviting everybody else to something, we don't have one or two board members there. Okay?
Are you available July 30th, or you don't know?
I think so.
Okay,
Mrs. Zork,
yes.
please remember you have a 5:01 meeting on the 30th as
Right,
well.
so we would have, oh,
That's why I
okay.
said that. 'Cause
No,
thought we
I
had
know
something.
yes, I do know that we have a meeting that afternoon and that evening, so having something early in the morning was, I had
Okay.
known that we probably would be here,
Okay.
so that was my thinking. And again, that's it's a tentative, the I
Is that a
believe
Tuesday?
it's a
Yeah.
Tuesday, and at the end of the month, there are not any other meetings on those Tuesdays with the other government agencies that I think. So I'm just in the process of trying to set up the date. But at first, before I even went into all that work, I wanted to make sure it was something that the board said, no, let's not do it. But I'm hearing a consensus that we're all, okay. Go ahead.
So you mentioned us hosting it. Is that something that we would be hosting here
In this room.
in this room? And what would the setup be? Like, what are you envisioning? Round tables, a podium, like just, what are you thinking?
That's
It's
Javon's
quite a bit of, that's
area
quite,
of expertise.
that's
He's
quite
not
a
here
bit
right
of, that's a lot of people, it's not 10 people
Right.
that's gonna show. I'm just wondering what you're thinking. It's not a determining factor for me. I think it's a great idea.
Right.
And I'm
Well,
looking forward to
obviously-
it, and I'm available on the
Right.
30th, but I'm just wondering, like, what, in your mind, what is that looking like? And then if we're hosting it, what would our board responsibility be, or what would you like of us to do to get it up and running? I certainly wouldn't want you to be the only person, even though it's an idea that you've brought forth. It's a lot of work, and-
Well, yeah, I've put a lot of events together, and I have some thoughts in my head on how I would like to put this together, because I have helped with several symposiums. So at this time, if I can get the blessings of the board to just tackle this,
Got it.
the biggest thing is just getting the invite out and figuring out what date, and then after that, it's all gonna come together. So, but I can let you guys know what.
blessing.
Okay.
I have full confidence that you will do a lovely job, and the table arrangements will be fantastic. Let's do it.
Are you gonna do the centerpieces?
I am not.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Yes, go ahead.
You mentioned a bunch of organizations, and you mentioned all of the cities except Indian River Shores. Did you want to include them?
Yes, thank you.
Secondly, you
Mhm.
mentioned county organizations, and I'm wondering if you want to include the sheriff's office? Or are
Well-
they part of county commission or other? Yeah.
Their insurance is under the Indian River County.
Okay, just wanted to check. I'm
Yep.
thinking of countywide organizations.
Mhm. So, okay, well,
Sorry, that said, if, this is a question, not a, there's nothing, I haven't thought about this till you mentioned it, but you mentioned all of the cities and their city councils, which would include their mayors and maybe their city managers. Would we want to include the local police forces who may also be encountering similar things?
they are.
They'd be part of
Under the
those, never mind, okay, got it.
Cities.
Can you add Fellsmere to that?
She did.
They
Oh,
are.
okay.
But I appreciate, I was putting this list together, so I'm happy that Indian River Shores, is there any other?
No, you're
Do we have them all? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I will work on that date, and if everyone could submit me, let me know if you're available on the 30th, I would appreciate it, okay?
Let Nancy know.
Yes, let Nancy know. That was my topic, and I do apologize, I did add it last minute, but it's time sensitive, it's something I want to work on over the next couple of weeks, okay? So I appreciate that. All right. We are moving to, I think we are at school board member matters, and do you want to start?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Karen Mallets, the Ed Foundation, the County Commission, the Quail Valley Charity. I can't even name everybody, but we saw a wonderful video about initiatives tonight. Step into Kindergarten is an awesome experience for our students. I think almost every grade could probably benefit from having some type of a program like that, and I know Karen and I have spoken a little bit. I have big dreams about, maybe like a Jump into First program or something. I just think it's a wonderful thing. Thank you for working so hard on it. I know that this is an incredibly busy time of year, and I know that you and your staff work really hard to make this happen. And if you've never visited a Step into Kindergarten program, any of the class, it's really, they're just lovely. They're excited for school, and they still love school. So it's fun because I have a 14-year-old, so I know what it looks like to not, be so crazy about school. But kindergartners, God love them. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Schiff?
I don't have anything but reserve the right to come back down the line. I think it's something.
Mrs. Rosario?
I just have a value adjustment board meeting on Monday, this coming Monday. Other than that, nothing pressing.
Okay.
Yeah, I have zoning planning tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. And I just wanted to say, I know we're waiting test results. They'll be out any day. They are due by Friday. So we should hear tomorrow or Thursday so that they were ahead of the deadline.
Yeah.
So I know that you're waiting on bated breath, Ms. Stampier, but I can't wait to see how well our kids have done. And just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's worked so hard to hope that those test results come in well. And I wanted to say again, thank you for all the donations and the staff that works so hard to prepare, and the staff that prepares for our workshops. And you create PowerPoints and you do all that work, and then you sit there and we fire questions at you. And we don't let you finish your presentation.
Because we
Yeah,
don't
we
write
do.
down
Anyway.
our questions.
I know, we can
We're
hold our questions.
engaged.
All right. I really like holding questions when people are doing their thing. Anyway, that's me, but I will continue to say it. I will say that I have emailed several principals in the last couple days about going out and seeing their schools and talking to them about different things. And 3 of them, several got back to me, but 3 of them got back to me while they were on vacation. So I'd just like to say thank you to them for being very aware of their email, even while on vacation. And so have some teachers, even our Teacher of the Year, who I know is awaiting to find out this week, right, Saturday?
Yep.
We'll find out whether or not Dr. Mossbleck is the State Teacher of the Year.
Oh, wow.
And she even emailed me from there. So I think it's wonderful that people are really paying attention in this summer to what's going on. So, thank you.
Mrs. Rizzo, or Did you?
Yeah,
You already spoke.
I did, but I
Oh,
just
that's
wanted
right.
to congratulate, I wanted to mention Mrs. Barenborg and thank you for your dedication to the school board, because not too many people know that you have resigned
Not tomorrow.
as effective tomorrow, from St. Lucie County, because this has been such a passion of yours, and it's a big decision to have made, so I know that your heart has always been with teaching and with being with the kids, and it's going to be a very big adjustment for you, but I wanted you to know that I recognize your sacrifice and your choice and your decision to give us your full attention so that,
Can I speak to that?
yeah.
I wasn't going to get emotional about that, but, you know, I've been criticized for having 2 jobs. And I'm going to speak right now. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because as a teacher, as an educator, and you're passionate about what you do, when you sign a document saying that you commit to kids for the year, you commit to kids for the year. And I wasn't, even though I was criticized for having done that and sticking with teaching and coming to these meetings and working at night, and I went to 41 different events in May and April. And people criticized the fact that I was still teaching and I was doing those things. But, and believe me, I wasn't all there altogether, and lack of sleep. But I will say this, when you're passionate about something, and I'm passionate about this, I want to give it my all. And thank you for recognizing that. I am sliding into this job full-time, but I'm also sliding into grandmotherhood. And I think it comes at the perfect time that I can devote a lot of time to this and my passion for things in this district that I wasn't able to do as much. So watch out, schools and principals, here I come.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
The meetings that never end,
I
sorry.
know, right?
But congratulations. I'm really envious. I wish I could do that. I wish I could stop my other job. I'm
What,
grateful it's
grandmotherhood?
flexible, but what?
Grandmotherhood, is that what?
No, he's
no.
15,
Okay,
for God's
that's, I
sake.
just want
Excuse
to
me.
clarify this.
No, I'd like to quit my other full-time job, but I can't do that. So I really kind of envy that you get to do that. But I also want to speak to the test scores thing, because I know we're all anxiously awaiting that, both as a district and individually as parents. And I want to emphasize and reiterate, particularly as we start charting how we're going to go forward into next year, the test scores aren't everything, right? That how we measure performance and capacity and achievement and well-being does not necessarily just hinge on test scores. And I know as a board we're sensitive to that. I know that we want to, we've already talked about how do we decrease, some of the emphasis on testing and iReady and all of those things. And it's a really easy trap to fall into, because the culture insists that that's how we measure ourselves, right? And I want to be clear moving forward, that we are not only test scores, and that our well-being as a district, as individuals in this district, and as students in this district, does not simply rise and fall on test scores, and that as we move forward into the next academic year, which for some of us will be our first full academic year as board members, that we really pay close attention to acknowledging and recognizing achievement and capacity outside of simply how people do on tests. And I want to keep that in the forefront of our minds. I know they matter, but relationships really matter too, right? And culture and climate and well-being and engagement all really matter. And I'd like to have ways of elevating those incomparable ways as we elevate those test scores. And I will keep reiterating that as we move forward, and want to start having that be in our consciousness now. So.
Okay, thank you. I would like to just remind the board, I have reserved the Luna RV from the Moonshot moment for the parade. So if anyone would like to participate and go with Dr. Long, I see you're shaking your head, you would love to go for the 4th of July parade and Sebastian early in the morning. there is enough, I believe 10 people can ride on it, and then we're gonna have some walkers, and the theme is gonna be Dr. Seuss, so red, white, and blue, but with Dr. Seuss,
And you're
theme
providing
one,
the
theme
hats,
two. Yes.
Really?
No.
I mean, I can't be there. I was kidding.
So that invitation is still out. If you'd like to participate, let me know. I am limited to 10 on the bus and 20 walkers. So let me know
I
if
can
you'd
wear
like
my
to
Grinch hat.
participate. What's
I
that?
can wear my Grinch hat. I actually have one.
Oh, that would be so
Okay.
funny. Absolutely. All right.
Thank you. Just to correct one thing, the
Yes.
Florida Teacher of the Year won't be announced until July 18th. But Dr. Mospleck is in Tallahassee this week with the other 4 finalists, and they're meeting with senior leadership and doing final interviews. So-
Okay, so that's why she was up there. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So we still have to wait a while.
Just a little bit.
July 18th.
Okay. With that, oh, I don't, closing. Okay, superintendent closing.
Thank you for a great day. Lots of work got done today, and we look forward to celebrating the student achievement of our district, so thank you.
Okay. With that, 8:10, we adjourn this meeting. Thank you.